The following podcast is sponsored by Words and Pictures Comics, located at 2610 Center Street, number 6. Words and Pictures is your one-stop shop for vintage back issues and cutting-edge graphic novels. Awesome service, great shop. Check them out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 247 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantelleresco. I write stuff in podcast 2. Today, my guest is John Mavin. He's back from the podcast. He's my first Creative Ink conversation. This one was a little different. We were at the merchant's table for the last hour of the show, the official last hour of the show. So we kept constantly getting interrupted and overruns. And there's some chirping beeps I've inserted into this conversation when we did get interrupted. I cut a good 20 plus minutes of this conversation because a lot of it was just conversations with just the people we were talking to in the merchants hall. That it needed to be done just to give the right concept and just so we could focus on the conversation we had. To my surprise, when I did the edits, we still have a really big, long conversation. We didn't quite finish it. This conversation is an unfinished one. John will be back probably around episode 260 to finish up this conversation we started here. And this was one of my favorite ones because we were getting some really interesting philosophical stuff in terms of what people want. And something I realized personally about people, and me and him have a very interesting discussion about that. But let's address one of the elephants in the room, though. I can honestly say this. I'm published at OnSpec. The current issue of OnSpec has an article with me in it. I wrote an article about Spider Robinson's time on the podcast. It's still up right now. It's episode 221. You can listen to it anytime you like. But if you want to read a little bit more about that conversation, you can pick up the current issue of OnSpec. And that was damn cool. That was really, really, really damn cool. I want to thank Diane Walton for giving me the opportunities. Diane, thank you very much. And then everybody involved at OnSpec for making this happen. So thank you guys. Outside of that, I think for now let's just get to the conversation. We'll talk about other business when we finish. All right? All right. So we're going to do this now. We're going to try to sneak this conversation in because John and I have been, ever since we were ready to sit down and talk, we've been bombarded by customers at the merchant's table. Can you believe it? Absolutely.
17,644 of them.
That's right.
And they didn't, they're not the Canadian thing, so it wasn't in a row.
No.
In a line.
It was a mob, and it was just like, we were like, holy crap, when did this happen at this merchant's table?
Well, it's when we sat down.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're awesome.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I have no problem having an ego, right? So
It's okay.
yeah, well, you need one. You would legitimately need one in what we do because you have it takes a lot of guts when I look at something like Rage, considering how personal it was for you.
Yeah.
Right? You wrote it, you put it out in the world and say, "Hey, I am John Mavin. Here's my book, and this is what I feel and say." You put a lot of work into that.
There was a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes a certain audacity to begin with to do that.
That's a bizarre thing because I teach too, and I tell it to my students. And I recognize, oh my God, it takes a lot of bravery to get up for the first time and share your story, especially your very, very first time.
Yeah.
And I know how much it takes, but for me, myself, I don't see it, I don't look at it that way. I'm not thinking my ego's there or I need to be protected. I'm really being brave about this, but other people, I'm incredibly conscious about that.
No, because we're not. Because it's not.
I'm just waving goodbye on my way out.
Okay.
I'll probably see you next weekend.
I suspect.
If I'm not totally burned by then, because I'm off on a writing retreat now.
Chill, enjoy. And hopefully I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm planning on it.
Good.
So.
Yes.
Take care. I liked your panel.
Oh yeah, we were just in.
Yeah, how was
my brain is totally discombobulated right now. That's why I gotta go home.
It's day 3 of the conference. Of course your brain's like that.
Yes.
It's supposed to be.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Come on,
Yes.
See you later.
All right. I'll hit the magic point here. Right.
Do we need to beep to make it so you can?
I can edit this. It's basically it's called the cut button.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just gonna selfie us.
Okay.
Coming close. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, that's something.
Yeah, we're cool or something.
So cool.
Yes.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Yes.
Oh,
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm just ignoring the tone completely. I'm just going to take your words directly.
Yeah.
You got a DB certification right there.
But you know what way I'm going to do with this conversation? I'm going to keep the an alpha recording of this.
Yeah. Fruit? No, thank you.
I will take all powerful orange.
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Do you know if you put things in paper bags and they break them?
We better keep going about it.
This is going to be funny.
Yeah, this is going to be hilarious.
bag that I
This is going to be the conversation that keeps getting interrupted.
I do know.
So, and you know what? I've got 3 times to do this. Let's see how many times it takes before we actually get this.
All right.
Right. So here's what I'm saying. Like, we talk about the audacity to create stuff. When we're actually creating something, we don't think about it because we're just doing it.
Sick.
Right,
Yes.
right, yeah. We're just doing it. When you make that decision that I'm going to publish this, well, that's it. Like, there's it's purely on an intellectual point. You don't think about, and I think it's just a brain thing, an unconscious thing in the brain. You're not thinking about any angst or how personal it is, right? And also it's about being a little comfortable in your skin and being okay with being that vulnerable.
Yes, although you say you do this when you're creating, and I see a separation with that.
Yeah, okay.
When you're creating, don't think about anything else. Don't think about where you're going to publish this. Don't think about where you're going to sell it. Because if you do, and if you're thinking, okay, this is going to be a bestseller, or if you're thinking, this is going to be in contention for the Giller Award, you're going to cripple yourself.
Right about to start.
So I believe wholeheartedly, when you start, worry about nothing. No writing rules apply. Get it down. But the impetus to share and get that story down, yes, that does take the bravery and the ego.
And the thing is, that's a healthy ego, right? That's where ego is actually healthy. It takes guts. It takes the ability to go, hey, do this, and it's good to embrace that a little bit, because when you're going up in front of an audience, when you teach, right, there is a little audaciousness with there, because you're one among many. What makes you so special, so different, is one way of looking at it. On the other hand, right, you have knowledge that you're a willing author, and you're sharing an experience. That's what teachers ultimately do. I actually had a great revelation about teachers today. You know what teachers, I think, actually do? I thought about this, and I think it's a really ingenious thing.
What do you think? Because I have my own ideas, but I want to hear what you think.
Your job is to give your students permission to do.
That's what I think. I think I'm there to create the situation for them to learn.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, as a teacher, I can't make anyone learn.
No.
And to think that as a teacher, I'm making someone learn, I'm teaching. No, I'm providing the situation where they can do it.
Yes.
You died, did it?
I died because I was a klutz, and I'm sorry. We're trying to do like 3,000 things at once. I'm really, really sorry.
I'm giving you a hard time. Cash me out, dude.
You got it.
There you go.
We interrupt this program for some regular scheduled administration. I'm crappy at the announcing stuff.
It looks like you did well.
I'm not sure if I did or not. I'm trying to do better.
Ollie wasn't my goal. I had my own books here, but Ollie just wasn't my goal this weekend. I had other aspirations. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got 2 the foot stuff.
And that one.
And that one, I have 1 copy of my third book. Yeah, it's the third and final one in the series. Yeah, it's epic poetry.
Oh, how cool is that?
We've got a problem.
What's wrong?
Your numbers don't add up.
I added 2 today.
Yeah, they were down there 3. So, okay. So,
hang on.
yeah, see the number. Oh crap. Okay, so we had initial inventory is 1 trade, 1 that.
Yeah.
But like,
this is fun. No, but like I had Dean Wells as my moderator, and he came out like a teacher, and I realized like essentially what writing essentially is, at least the first draft should be. Do you remember that kindergarten assignment where you get a marble and you put it in paint and just let it roll?
we never did that. Oh my god, I wish we did that. That sounds so cool.
No, that's what I did in my grade. That was my very first assignments in kindergarten. The thing about that, now I'm getting I have to realize how good that lesson was, because our first draft is literally the marble and paint. We're rolling it around, kind of seeing.
Absolutely.
You're making like a muckery of whatever. It doesn't matter how if it's good. Good is very relative, right? Especially in the first draft, right?
It doesn't need to be good. And that's the point. And this is one thing that really bugs me about TV and movies, where you see the author's hard at work. They might have a cigarette hanging on the boat, or maybe the cigarette's just waiting out the side. They're ready to go. They're at their typewriter. typing away, they hit the words "the end," they pull it out, then the smoke goes in the mouth, or they light the smoke, they're done. Bullshit.
Yes.
Absolute bullshit. We've had interesting things happen at Creative Inc. this year, with someone that was giving a presentation on first drafts, and it was like shitty first drafts, and it was neat because she posted something about that a couple days before on Facebook, and the idea of the word shitty was attacked so bad. Now, it's originally where that comes from is a quote that's attributed to Hemingway. No one can actually prove that Hemingway actually said it, but they keep saying that Hemingway actually said that the first draft of anything is shit. He meant the first draft, just get it down on paper. That's it. That's the only point. It doesn't have to be good. Oh my God, it's not going to be good, and that's completely okay.
Yes.
The pushback that she was getting is against the word shitty because it seems judgmental. And so she's got terms of it should be like the scrappy first draft, or the scrappy rough draft.
Why be tame? It's actually the thing is.
Or someone else will say the dreamy draft or the vision draft. Whatever you call it, and whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better about it, just to underscore the fact that it's not judgmental about it, but it's supposed to be a mess, and it's your work. Like Chris Humphreys last year and I were talking about this, and it was not that it's shit, but it's Chris sees it as potential.
Yes.
On you taking something and it's your marble's gone over it and you get this art going on.
Yeah.
Or if you're a sculptor, it's your block of clay. What you're going. That's what you have to work with.
Yes.
And that's the healthy way to work.
No, it's very healthy. Actually, but speaking of that, next year, if I can find it, I have a draft. This was a brilliant. I wrote this when I was 8 years old. I had this idea about dolphins saving the world.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring it up because it's perfect for a seed. Yeah. So if I find it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a tape recording of dolphins making noises because that was my big fatal error.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to do kung fu translations.
Very cool.
Yeah. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Of course.
Own our shit. If you own it, you can make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it fun, you're giving people again. Everything's about permission. And I don't know what, and it made me have a big epiphany when I realized this.
Mm-hmm.
How much of things in this life are really pointless if all it is about permission.
Yes.
You're right. If all it really is about is permission, if it's just about permission, right, then all we really need to be concerned about is that we're not hurting anybody else. Mm-hmm. And if we're hurting ourselves, that is a risk. That is a risk we take when we do this. But there is something there to pull you back. Don't. That was probably a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. But mistakes also.
Yeah.
Honestly, I believe it's the way humans learn.
Absolutely.
It's trial and error. I think it's an idiom or whatever you call it. I've lost the word for that.
Yeah.
But it's a set proverb for a good reason because yes, you try something, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then you try again. You try harder. You try a different way, and you learn how to do it. Mistakes are important.
Mistakes are a necessity of life.
Absolutely.
It's not about perfection. It's about progression, and that's a big difference. If you think about perfection, none of us can hit that ideal.
Yeah, but the problem is a lot of people, especially in our culture, think of perfection. And one of the examples that really gets me the most is Olympics. Watching the figure skating. Now, it's pretty, and I like watching it. I know it takes an awful lot of skill to do that. But the way they're talking about it, the announcers, it's like, well, they didn't do this jump quite properly, so it marks off for that, marks off for that, marks off for that. Oh, they only landed a triple Lutz, not a quad. And you're like,
well,
I don't like the way you look at it. It's like, holy crap, you just landed like 3. Like, I understand the marking system, but instead of coming from a way of celebrating what their achievement is, it's taking things off from perfection. I think that attitude pervades our society, and I think it's very unhealthy.
Yeah, the other thing, here's the other thing about perfection nobody actually realizes. Mm-hmm. What is perfection but stillness? And perfection, because life is change. Mm-hmm. That means life is always in motion. It's always seeking, going somewhere, no matter where it's going. If you're perfect, you're going nowhere. There's another term for that, death.
Well, it reminds me of a joke I remember too, about when a golfer dies and they get in the afterworld, they get their course, they get on their dream course, everything's great, and they shoot 18. That's hell. There's nowhere to go from there.
Exactly.
They're done. It's finished.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that ain't heaven at all. That's the complete opposite.
Yeah. It's not about perfection at all. It's the journey. It really is. It's the journey, not the destination. And once you realize that, it's like, well, you can have fun along the whole way as long as you're going somewhere.
Fingers crossed that you can, and you stop and you realize that, or that you've been made aware of that.
Yeah. No, since like I said, I've kind of evolved in the last year, like personally. There's some things I just realized, and I'm more comfortable in my skin than I was a year ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah, which is always good. But the other thing I kind of just realized is I realized something very profound. People do exactly what they want to do.
I hope so.
No, always.
Okay, explain this to me.
Because here's the thing. So when I try to figure out how to read people, first question I always ask is, what do you want? And the reason why I always ask what do you want is not because it's simpler. Because if you have a clear answer of what you want, you have a clear idea of who you are. If I ask who you are, right, that it's more confusing. It's the more confusing question. It's the more important question, I honestly think. But it's the more confusing one to answer. Whereas if I go, what do you want? That's an easier thing to grasp. Does that make sense so far?
It does, but I'm also saying who you are. I can see people being stymied with an answer like, what face do I show you?
Yeah. No.
But what do you want? Then it's also, how much do I really tell you?
Well, yeah, but that's the point.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me a vague answer, I already know that one of two things. You're afraid to tell me what you want, or you don't know. My money is on you don't know, right? So going into that, right, I realized that there are people that know exactly what they want in this world and do everything they can to achieve what they want. And there are people that don't know what they want in this world and still do everything they can to achieve what they want. And therein's the problem. If you don't know what you want, what you often end up doing is what is easiest. Not what is correct, but what is easiest. You're still doing what you want, but now it's the inverse version of it, right? Now what you want is to stay exactly where you are, right? Whereas if you know what you want, you're actually going somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And once I figured that out, it's easier to let go of. It's easier to let go of a people making their own choices. I don't need to be in control anymore. I don't need to chase anybody either. All I have to do is leave myself open to a possibility, and everything else will work its way out.
I like that.
Yeah, that's it. It's a really simple concept. And this is what happened. I lost some friendships because I stopped chasing people. And when I stopped chasing people, I go, but my door is open. It's a really simple filter. Because if you really want to see me, I'm not saying no. Make a phone call, come see me. If you don't want to see me, you won't call me, and that's okay too. Right? That is you're doing exactly what you want.
It is, and I think for a lot of people that's a hard place to get to.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are so tied up in what other people think and what they think of us, and to be able to sit back and realize that maybe that person didn't think as much of me as I thought they did. It can't hurt if you still are invested in what other people think of you.
Yeah.
Granted, I see that as an ideal. I don't see it as something I've achieved, but it's something I've been working towards as well too.
Yeah, but again, I fixed the teeth. It clarified. I realized about 2 years ago that a certain way I was treated. The only thing that was in common with that was me. It's like, what am I doing that is allowing a certain behavior, and what can I do to change it? And that's when the epiphany hit me. People do exactly what they want to do. Right? And when I realized that, it was like, I get it. Right? Now that I get it, how do I make it so I have a filter that the people that want to be there will be there, and the people that don't want to be there won't be, and it's okay either way.
Yeah. Like I say, I think that's a good place that you've gotten to, and I think it's an interesting way that you're getting there. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's just something. It's something I realized. When I realized that, I was like, I'm very comfortable myself. Like I've had a lot of people come up to me and go for different. Like one person came up to me for proofreading advice, right? Well, she was talking about she wanted to pay for proofreading, and it was like, well, you should be paid for it because I don't want to, right? Because we often I was giving me all excuses. That's the other thing that's hard about my method. I kill every excuse you have because it doesn't matter why anymore. You're doing what you want, and people are like, well, wait, what about? It doesn't matter. And it bothers people. I think that's the other thing that bothers people about that. But going back to it, she was making excuses after excuses. And finally, she goes, I just don't want to do it. Okay, then we're done talking. Right? But
again, that ties back to what people worrying what other people think about that. What your response would be towards that. If you can be honest, things actually get a lot easier. And honestly, when you worry, I found that when you worry about situations that are going to happen, usually a lot of people will catastrophize. And they'll make it much worse than it really is, and stop and think, what's really the worst that's going to happen in this situation? In this case, I'm honest and tell you what I really want. Worst, probably, if you disagree, you're going to walk away from it. It's not that bad.
No, it's not.
It's not. And so why worry about it?
Yeah, exactly. You're still doing what you want. I'm still doing what I want. No one's getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right? That's it.
If we can both make that realization.
Yeah, exactly. No.
That's part of the key.
But again, it took me a while to figure that out. But once I figured that out, it's also easier to realize when people are wasting your time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing about it. It's a beautiful thing. I have always looked at things since my late 20s that I'm on a limited time. I had my own experience with mortality, and I realized that one day I am going to die.
Can I ask you what?
Sure. I ended up, it was actually about the teeth, ironically enough. I was in Arizona. I was starving. Yeah, not like starving like for like when my next meal was coming. What was happening was I was waking up at like 3. I was working at a night job at Walmart. I was living in a small town, no transit system of any real import. So I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon instead of getting a proper night's sleep. I'd have to hitchhike to the next town, walk to my work, guaranteeing myself to get there on time. I would work all night, get a ride home, sleep, repeat every day I was working.
Oh my God, that's exhausting.
So I was the problem was, I did that. Now eventually there was a bus going from city to city, but I still had to get up early to get on that bus. I still had to end up walking. I still had to do a lot of the things here I'm telling day in and day out. Eventually I did move to the town, but by then I was like physically, mentally broken.
I can see that.
Yeah, right. And then I saw, and this is where you may believe me or disbelieve me, I saw a shadow of death. And I recognized right there and then that one day I'm going to die. Right then, right there, I knew that wasn't coming for me yet, but it was there. And if I kept going on the path I was going on, I was going to meet that face to face. And I wasn't ready to meet that face to face. Shortly thereafter, my sister sent me something I never thought I'd see, and it's going to sound really, really small. My mom had all our family, my parents divorced. My mom took all our old family photos.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen them in 20 years.
Okay.
My sister sent me in the mail these pictures I hadn't seen in 20 years.
Oh, that is cool. And that does not seem like a small thing to me.
Yeah, that's an amazing. I saw myself as a young boy. I saw my dad as a young man. My mom as a young woman. It was almost like a whole story going in my life. And the moment I hit that point, I recognized that everything I had, everything that was keeping me here, did not matter anymore. I was free to do whatever I wanted to do. And if I wanted to go, I could go. Again, going back to the theme of this conversation, we all do what we want, and we never realize it, right? Until we go through it. I dealt with a lot of my demons right then, right there. I still carried a few with me when I actually went to fix the teeth, and I had to deal with the rest of those demons when I did, because I also had to come to terms with the fact that things were broken, and there was nothing I could do about it at the time for them being broken. And that's a really hard thing to accept, because you like to think you're in control of your own fate.
You can, and that's something I've been thinking too, when you reiterate the theme of what we're talking about you do what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of so many people, their lives, they would disagree wholeheartedly with that. They are not doing what they want at all, and they feel trapped in a job, trapped in a family situation, whatever. And it's a really tough thing, and I'm not quite exactly sure how I feel about this, what I'm thinking about it, but if you're doing what you want, you might not know what you want, but no, that's not right.
No, it's not quite, no. Okay, so let me talk about...
You might not be in touch with what you want.
Yes.
And I think that's closer to it.
No, that's exactly it. Because, okay, here's the thing. No matter how tough your family situation is, you can always walk away. There's a consequence, though, when you do it.
There is. There's consequence to everything.
No, that's right. That's the other part of this game. Everything you do has a price. Everything you do has a consequence. Yeah. So the question you have in your head is the consequence worth the action? Now, at the end of the day, you're still making it. It's not necessarily always a good choice. Sometimes your choices are shit, and there are moments in your life where your choices are going to be shit.
I thought humans were very famous for making good choices all the time.
Absolutely. fantastic choices.
And the appropriate.
Yeah, always. But that is part of the fun, right? Because that's where we're going. Like going back to something you said, we're all allowed to make mistakes, right? But most of us don't recognize the mistakes.
I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't agree with that statement that we're all allowed to make mistakes. Yeah. And I find it really sad when people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because it's integral to who we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
We must make mistakes.
Yeah, we must. But that's the thing. But no matter what, and again, when I realized this, like again, I have an epiphany. We all do exactly what we want to do. It's like, so if I focus on what I really want to do, I'm going to get it. Or the world is going to move in that direction. Right.
I hope so. My fingers are crossed again. I hope so, because I'm thinking about people being stuck in abusive relationships.
Oh, okay. So I have an interesting story about that. So I know someone, and she was going through a really hard time with a really abusive relationship, and they had a kid together. I pointed out something to her really, and to her credit, man, she's rising up. She's freaking badass. She was feeling really down on it. I looked at her and said, look, here's the thing you need to really concern yourself with. It's not about you anymore. And you go, what do you mean? You have a daughter. She says, right now she's a baby. Right now she's not going to know it exactly. Right. But right now she's a baby. She doesn't know exactly what's going to go on. But if you let this keep going on, she's going to be 4 and 5 years old. And the worst thing that's going to happen, this is going to be her normal. And considering how he's treating you, when she gets to a certain age, how is he going to treat her? Right?
That's disregarding if there's an escalation.
Yeah. I'm
not just unhealthy, but actually very dangerous.
Absolutely. I'm not even factoring that in. I didn't even think about that, but it got her thinking. She broke up from her relationship. Right now, she's fighting. She's gotten herself a job. She's gotten back on her feet. Right. Now, again, it's not I want to make this very clear. Nothing I'm saying here is easy, not even remotely. There's a difference between easy and simple, and a lot of people don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of course there is. Right. I'm being simple. I am certainly not being easy. Right. It's a process. Right. But changing and breaking out of these habits and cycles and inertias and everything.
Because it's interesting too, because our society the message is starting to get out. If you find yourself in an abusive relationship, what you should do is get out of it. But if you're saying when people do what they want to do, it might be fear where they're not doing it, but they might think, I want this relationship to go back to what it was. I need to be protected.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the only way that I can see. And not understanding what the options are.
Yeah, absolutely. No, exactly.
And thinking the consequences of leaving way out balance. Okay, if I'm here, I know what's going to happen, but outside, even the protection that I've got now is gone.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's a very real psychology, because what happens is
terrifying.
Oh yeah, familiarity is comfortable.
Yes.
And that is a big trap. It's the biggest trap we have, is what's familiar to us. Because it's only when we're in unfamiliar territory do we grow and evolve, right? But the thing is, it's easier. And that is the easy part, is stay exactly where you are no matter where you are. Because all you have to do is exactly what you've done to be here.
Yes.
And that's inertia. And that is one of the hardest things, no matter what situation, good, bad, to break. Because you get out of a bad situation, you have to reverse the momentum. And that doesn't happen easily. That's a process, and that's where, again, trial, error, stumble. You feel down and beaten. You have a bad day. You might fall back even farther, right? It's a very real, like, again, complete empathy, and I certainly can't understand what that is.
We're just touching on one aspect of it. There's issues going on.
Absolutely.
I don't want to belittle any of those.
No, and we're not. I don't think we are. But it's good it's said. Yeah, but it's just going back to the overarching thing, we do exactly what we want. There is no situation I can really think of where that really isn't true. There are things out of our control, yes, but we all make choices, even in the things outside of our own control. We still end up doing exactly what we want to do.
Yeah. I'm just thinking.
No, I know.
Because I haven't thought of it exactly this way before, and I haven't thought about.
I know. You like the idea.
Oh, I love the idea. It's a very tempting idea too.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of like with overly controlling parents too, and like 8-year-old me would not have agreed with that at all.
No, but
I understand, like as an adult looking back.
Yeah.
And realizing what I had to do to maintain my safety, to maintain my sanity, my health in the situation I was in.
Again.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to be safe, and that was what I thought. So yeah, I can see that. So it's a roundabout way. But
no, there's that, but it's also the fact too. At 8 years old, there's not a lot you have in control. As an adult, this really works well with adults. It doesn't always work well with kids because with kids, and you can't control who your parents are. You can't control your situation.
None of us can. Adults, unfortunately.
No, that's true. but you can't. But you can't control any of that, and you can't really take action against any of that until you're much older.
Yeah.
Right. So there is definitely there's a part of that where you have to some degree, endure what it is you have to endure. Mm-hmm. Again, you can choose to have a break. You can choose to fight it in some way or fashion. A lot of kids do, right, in their own way. Doesn't mean they're not damaged as a result of it, unfortunately.
Of course. This is, when you're in a situation like that, you are not coming at it from a healthy place. And running away, suicide, getting hurt, those are all options that can happen even at 8 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there's just, again, that is just a very bad hand. That's a very bad hand you're dealt with, and sometimes it just sucks.
Yeah, well, none of us can control that.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're born into.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Like, there are always things out of your control. Mm-hmm. This is absolutely true. But every adult person I met, I say this: you do exactly what you want to do. It bothers some people.
Especially, I would imagine the people that feel that they're trapped and feel that they have no control, and realizing maybe I do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it's fear of breaking that inertia and doing something to maybe they don't think they have the opportunity, the potential, or because of their past histories, they don't have the opportunities to do it.
But they don't see the opportunities.
But ultimately, I think they do what they want, even if it's distasteful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, I realized that in the last year, and I realized that's like I suddenly understand something I have never understood. Why is it like someone like me can go for stuff and someone like me doesn't go? What's the difference? What's the mechanism that's different? And then the only conclusion I could come is, I want this. It's the only thing that makes any sense at all. Yeah. I think I just gave you a deep philosophical thought.
It's been a weird past couple of years. Okay, I'll say it. I hit 50 this year.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it is amazing the things that I thought I knew after half a century. I realize that aren't true at all.
Yeah.
And I'm peeling back the things that I thought were true, things that I've built my decisions on, my life on, aren't necessarily true at all. And I'm like, crap, and I'm getting tired of it. But things like this, it's like, I'm starting to understand these things finally. Like, I wish I'd understand them like 40 years ago. Okay, I was 10.
30 years ago.
35? 15?
Yeah.
That's a good time to start realizing that shit.
I'm 37. I mean, I'm a slow learner too.
I get really frustrated with being the slow learner about the whole thing. But I'm glad to have made those realizations regardless when they come.
Yep. It doesn't matter when they come. And
hopefully before you die.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed on that. But it's not when they come. It's what you do with them when you that's really what matters. It's not a race. Right? No, it's not. It's not a race at all. I mean, I learned that again. I interviewed a 16-year-old pop star who her first album at 16.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Right? And I'm like, I have no excuses to do what I do. And I like to think I'm successful, right? And I think I am successful, at least on the podcast level of things for sure. But the reality of the situation is, right, even so, I'm looking at her, it's like, well, I got no excuses. She's doing it.
It's very interesting. I ran into someone at Creative Inc., the festival we're at right now. And part of the thing that got her kick-started into writing, she wrote a couple things back when she was a child. Got it to her 30s, she hadn't really done it. Then her daughter's friend at 15 finished a novel. And she's going, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so she finally got over that inertia, went back to the dream that she had, and she's now publishing 5 books. So it's like, well, that is awesome.
Well, no, that's it. But again, in this, what's the difference? Why is the 16-year-old, why is the 15-year-old finish the novel? She wanted to.
Yes.
It goes right back to that exact thing. It was like, because it's the only thing that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
having just been exposed to the idea, and I can't think of anything to counter that right now. I really can't.
No. And like I said, and I'm sure, I am almost for certain we're going to have a future conversation down the road. We might have a counter argument to it.
We might, because I'm obviously going to think about this.
Yes.
Yeah, this is something that I'm not brushing off. It's something that's going to stick with me.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting.
Yeah. Again, it's just my own personal path in life. It's also just the fact that. Okay, and I say this, one of the greatest blessings of my life is I get to meet incredible people like yourself, and we get to talk about life, the universe, and everything. And people seem to like it.
It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. It's just, and I get to do this all the time, and not just with you. People like Jonas Saul, Ellen Michelle, Colleen Anderson.
I gotta say,
yeah.
It's not just that people are listening to you. I'm going to plug this for you, too. You won the award for this last year.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just people are listening. A lot of people are listening.
Yeah.
And they think what you're doing is really cool and great. So that is fantastic.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I did this with my money where my mouth is. You know what my biggest complaint about Canada is?
What's that?
There's no platforms to recognize how talented people are here. And you know what I somehow did with this? I created a platform where people can see how awesome people are.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. I did something about it.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Fist bump on that one.
Yeah. That's the irony. And the funny part is I never even realized it until like not too long ago. So it's like.
Very cool.
Yeah. Very cool. So. You're writing your first novel, from what I can tell.
I am. Yes.
How's this different for you?
Oh my God, it's different. Okay, I'm switching genres.
Yeah.
But I'm also going home to the genres. When I first wanted to start to write, fantasy is what I like.
Yes.
Speculative fiction, and specifically dark fantasy.
Kenneth Lee kind of stuff, or like closer, more like I want to say Stephen Donaldson, but this is not quite right either.
Yeah, Stephen Donaldson.
Yeah.
Stephen Donaldson was interesting. When I first encountered him. Okay, I'm not going to spoil the books in case you haven't. God, they've been out for like over 30 years, but I'm still not going to spoil them if you haven't read them.
Yep.
I picked up the first book. I got to that scene. If you've read it, you'll know exactly what it's about. And I threw the book across the room. I am not spending a book with inside this guy's head. It's repellent. And then I went back a couple months later, and oh my God, I thought it was really cool. So that was the type of stuff I was reading at that time. Yes, I was reading Eddings at the time.
Eddings is awesome.
Terry Brooks at the time. I felt this Tolkien guy. I sort of thought he was kind of cool.
For me, it was Jordan, but I totally get it.
I've only read the first one of Jordan, but I don't want to Jordan bash at all. I thoroughly enjoyed the first book. And so I started to write. Mm-hmm. And I realized very quickly, I don't know how to write. I needed to learn. And so the people that I approached to teach me how to write, they taught a different type of writing. They weren't teaching speculative stuff. They were teaching literary fiction. I said, okay, I don't know how to write. You do. You can teach me. Teach me. So I got into literary fiction for several years. I really enjoyed it. I like a lot of the stuff that's involved in it. But now, and the book that I've got out is a book of literary fiction. It's dark literary fiction, so I have the dark connection with fantasy, but it's not what I really wanted to be. And so now that book's done. It's out. I can go back, because I now think I know how to write. Mm-hmm. I can go back and write what I want to write. So yes, I'm writing dark fantasy. The people that are sort of similar to what I'm writing right now, Joe Abercrombie, Mark Lawrence.
Mark Lawrence, awesome.
John Gwynne.
Okay, so I know exactly where you're going. I'm not going to necessarily like your characters, but I'm going to respect them.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Because I want to make them, because part of the thing that's difficult to write this, because I've just finished the first draft. And I finished that end of February. And actually every day, February, 3,000 words every single day, no breaks. It was tiring, it was grueling, but it's done, and I'm really happy about that. Mm-hmm. But I'm finding it's harder for me to write this than it was literary fiction.
Yeah.
And I found that fascinating that I couldn't, and I find because it doesn't seem sincere. Whereas my literary stuff does, and I'm trying to figure out why it doesn't, because I want it to be sincere.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've got ideas, and I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
But part of it is, I'm looking at fiction. I think at one point I was thinking, why don't I write speculative fiction from a literary point of view? Because I think, wouldn't that be neat? And then I thought, yes, but it's so niche. You're so small people to read it. And want people to enjoy the stories. And one thing I think of about speculative fiction and fantasy, people are reading it to enjoy the story.
Yeah.
And so that got me into question, well, which point of view should I be using, which tense? And I've been watching a lot of discussions on a lot of Facebook boards and a lot of Goodreads boards and what people say. And I'm taking this with a grain of salt, but just seeing what they have.
I got you. So I have a couple thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
So, what character do you relate the most to? Tell me about him. Without actually, you don't have to spoil anything.
Yeah, no, I won't spoil anything because I've got the first draft done. I will talk about it. I won't talk until the first drafts are done. There's 3 main characters in the story, and at first blush, one is a priest, one is a monk, one is a pregnant woman.
Okay.
Each of those 3 touched me in a really big way. The priest is the main character who you're mainly following around, but the other 2, and one of the 3 is also the antagonist, which the reader, at the moment, I'm planning on it, the reader's not going to realize who the antagonist is until the very end of book 1.
Okay. So
that's part of the play that I'm doing.
I see. I see your challenge. I actually see your challenge. So, you play games?
I do.
What games do you like to play?
By time? Neverwinter Nights.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
My Steam account says I like playing Skyrim a lot.
Nice. So you like, okay,
I think I'm over 900 hours on that, so I think I like it a lot. Yeah.
Possibly, yes. Yeah. So I have a couple thoughts, and it's something just it's a pickup. It's not necessarily a guarantee that I'm right about this, but it's a pickup.
I'm willing to listen to it.
Yeah. You're a systems guy.
Mm-hmm. I've been a software developer in the past.
No, you're a systems guy. You love how structures work.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine like your fantasy would actually be something along the lines of what Brandon Sanderson does. Brandon Sanderson comes up with systems and uses the systems in backwards worlds.
For those of you that don't know, Brandon Sanderson, from my exposure, has the most detailed, most logical magical systems out there.
Yeah, but that's
brilliant.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I love them. But the thing is, I refuse to read the Stormlight Archive. I only read those when I have time. Like, so I give myself special. It's like a special reward.
That book 2 of Stormlight, it's been waiting for me. I keep looking at it, going, crap, it's over 1,000 pages. I'm not ready for that yet.
No, it's not. I'm not ready for that.
That's for me. I'm not ready for that time commitment.
Oh, that's it. I'm not ready for the time commitment. But when there's like when Cloud Diver 1's released, I'm going to be ready for that time commitment. I'm going to be ready. But anyways, the thing about that, right? He's a systems guy. He builds systems. Maybe what you need to do, and something maybe you need to think about, is there's two thoughts. My belief is characters in the world. The world shapes the characters. Mm-hmm. So if you have a system of the world, maybe part of the problem is because you're trying to play a game with your readers, and not like a malicious game. Mm-hmm. You're trying to like, can you guess kind of what's going on? I almost feel like there's a bit of a mystery element to this story. There is a mystery element. So you're kind of think about it like you're building a game from start to end, mm-hmm. and the last, and let's say it's a Snakes and Ladders game. Snake, go up, you're down, up ladders, down snakes, go down this weird rock of June. Space 100 is where the big reveal is, mm-hmm. right? So part of the problem might be just simply that you haven't put enough clues into the readers like to make it fun. It has to be a little.
It will be fun, and that's how we've been having trouble. I get what completely.
Yeah.
And it's draft 1, so it's
still, no.
We talked about Hemingway in first draft. Yeah. It's a big steaming, heaping pile of shit. The first draft. And I know it needs rework, and I'm almost at the end of my cooling off phase. And I'm early answer to get back and work.
I get you. Yeah.
Sign off on that.
So. Here's the thing, Mr. John. Yes. I think we've been completely taken overrun here.
We've been hijacked.
Yeah. So listen, why don't we just do it like this?
Yeah.
We had a great conversation.
Yeah, we did.
And it was. I think I definitely made you get to thinking, which is a good thing.
Why don't we call this, if you're up for it? This is part 1.
Yeah.
Part 2 will happen sometime in the future.
Yes.
And we'll pick this up.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about this? How can people find you? Just real quick.
Lovely.
Easiest way, my website, www.johnmavin.com.
Yes.
From there, there's links to Facebook, there's links to Goodreads. You can get everything from that website.
Yes. So here's what I'm going to do. And that was my conversation with John Mavin. He's currently, book Rage is out and available now, and John's going to be back in about a month, a little bit over a month from now, to finish this conversation. it was, like I said, this was definitely an interesting one in terms of where we were and how kind of the interactions worked out. John's always great, and I want to thank him very much for being on my show. So I got to announce a winner for Suiciders, and that is Maggie Boxfoldy. She won. I'm going to be informing her of this tomorrow, and I'm going to be announcing the next graphic novel, which is going to be X-Men, Marvel Comics' Uncanny X-Men, Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire. If you're an X-Men fan, all you got to do is put your name in the mailing list. If you put it in, I draw it out. You won't know till next Monday if you win, but it's definitely a big thing. So, X-Men, Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire, written by various creators in Marvel. I have that trade available for anyone that wants it. You all are welcome to enter. Thank you, Words and Pictures, for making that happen. Speaking of Words and Pictures, their Free Comic Book Day sale is coming up. When Free Comic Book Day, all their issues are going to be American cover price. They're going to also have some special deals on trade paperbacks. That'll be on Free Comic Book Day, which takes place about a month from now. And finally, so Saturday I woke up to seeing my name in print, which is kind of a really cool thing. And I got to thinking, and this is kind of going to be a personal little mantra. I'm putting it on the podcast here. And this. My name shouldn't just be in the magazine section. It should be in the book section. And I think the goal now is to make that happen. Let's get serious about that. Episode 250 is going to be a very interesting episode. I'm going to talk about everything I've been doing since I've gone on a little bit more on my own. It's been definitely a great experience, but there's been some good things and there have been some bad things, and I've been building accordingly. But to everyone listening, and thanks for everything so far, it's been great. That will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So, you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. First and foremost, you can subscribe to the podcast. I am on Podomatic, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, any player, just about where a player can be found, you can find me. Number one. Number two, I have a YouTube channel, Joshua Pentelarusco. Over 150 episodes are up there right now. All of your one's up there now. Most of your 2 is up there. And I'm also putting up some more current episodes as we speak. Number 3, my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, currently available through Mirror World Publishing. You can check them out there. Number 4, Alice Zero, coming soon. Amazon, Kobo, wherever platforms you get books will be available soon. Stay tuned for details. Stay tuned for episode 250. All right. Until I hear from you guys next time, stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. Be you. All right? All right.
Josh.